All right, good evening, everyone. Please, can someone confirm that they can hear me? Can someone confirm if I'm being heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can
All
hear
right,
you.
thank you very much. Good evening. Welcome to week two of, sorry, this flyer is a bit incorrect. It's supposed to be week two of our third and fourth quarter. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you to everyone for sparing out your evening to be here with us in class. We'll soon be starting shortly, so please just talk in and enjoy what would have set on ground for you today. So my name is Dennis Williams, and I will be your moderator for this particular class. And going into today's session, our topic for today is blockchain. Right, we will be. Last week we had the introduction into blockchains, NFTs, and metaverse. Now today we'll be focusing more, or we'll be zooming our lens to focus more on blockchain as a topic. Right, so we'll be. I would like to introduce the mentors that will be doing due justice to that in today's session. So, firstly, we will be having Mr. Ridwan Badmos. Like we said in the profile last week, I will just be reading it over again. Mr. Ridwan Badmos is a tech lawyer, multidisciplinary privacy professional, and CTO. His expertise extends across various specialized technology law domain, encompassing artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, and other cutting edge technologies, being a certified information privacy technologist with the LAPP and the Esteem One Trust Fellow of Privacy Technology. Ridwan is at the forefront of translating privacy regulations into functional applications that handles user data, a a significant void he diligently fills. Um, Furthermore, his unique position in working across numerous complex projects bridges the gap between legal and technical teams, thereby harmonizing two distinct domains in this expansive technological landscape. Ridwan advocates for the effective implementation of privacy and security best practices in is evident in his active involvement in shaping industry standards set forth by eminent organizations such as the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the Cloud Security Alliance, and the Center for Internet Security. Thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan, for joining us. I can see you're already here with us on call. Thank you so much. We are happy to have you in this session. Um, so next, we're having Mr. George Onyewichi. Mr. George Onyewichi has not yet joined in for the call, but we expect him to be doing that very soon. George currently heads fintech engagements for First Bank and its subsidiaries across Africa at its Digital Innovation Lab, setting and driving the bank's fintech strategy. George is a link that connects technology, business, and ecosystem partnership. He is at the intersection of products, partnership, and ecosystem building. He has led the tech solution product developments for the SME banking business of a leading commercial bank and has taken numerous financial and non financial products from ideas to markets and growth. He has led digital transformation in the client's engagement processes for leading commercial banks, including one of Nigeria banking industry's first end-to-end account opening for corporate accounts and SME digital lending. His team has won numerous awards for powering growth of SMEs. He also provides advisory for Crypto Africa towards developing blockchain infrastructures and building the operating system for African businesses on the blockchain, and hosts knowledge sessions on blockchain application in various industry within the African context. So Mr. George will be our second mentor for today. Thank you so much, sir. We are happy that we'll be having these two mentors do due justice to the topic for today. So, like I said at the beginning, kindly talk in, get your notepads ready, and be open and willing to learn from our very, very esteemed mentors. Since we have first on call Mr. Ridwan, right, we would just like to give him 20 minutes to do an introduction into the topic for today, blockchain, so that he can just give us some of the basic technicality and the legal sides to the blockchain industry. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again. And first of all, it's really interesting. To talk about blockchain, a very interesting emerging technology. And before I delve into the topic of today, I'm thinking of taking a particular approach, but then I want to confirm first if Mr. George will be joining us. We confirmed if he's going to be joining us, so that I will know if I can go through that method or not.
Yes, Mr. George will be joining us. He said he may be 15 minutes late, so we are expecting him very soon on the call.
Okay, interesting. Because I noticed that I think diving into this class, I was able to check the slides, the presentation that was sent, that's, of course, the group prepared. So I was looking at the possibility of, of presenting the slides, the PowerPoint presentation, before we delve into these issues, because it would be great if we can really discuss those issues directly. But since Mr. Judge will be joining us later, and he's not here yet, so I won't want us to take that method anymore, that approach. I think I'll just try to make some comments, not particularly on the slides now, but I'll try to talk about some things, and then when we get to the slides, then I can talk about those issues, especially those questions which are more legally ingrained. And another thing I wanted to say before I continue is that I might be leaving us by 8 on the dot, then I'll come back because I have to, go and pray till around 15 after. I believe the classes will still be ongoing, and then I hope to then talk more about the issues that we're going to be discussing. So, ordinarily, blockchain as a topic or as a subject is a very huge, a very broad subject to discuss or topic to discuss, because that's a standalone technology on its own, an innovative or emerging technology, and it's a very huge space. What I mean by being a huge space, I'm not even talking about the technical space now. I'm talking about the legal area itself. When we start talking about different things that you can really that the blockchain is capable of doing in terms of, and the legal implications as well. So if we look at different areas, because another thing is, we can look at it from this angle that we have different areas of law, and those areas of law, kind of how those different areas of law kind of relates with blockchain itself. So to make that clearer, I'm talking about, when we're talking about blockchain, how it relates with the other day I was talking about privacy and data protection on the blockchain. That's one very big area that, if you don't understand blockchain technology itself, might be difficult. If you are a privacy professional and you don't know anything about blockchain, it will actually be very difficult for you to navigate your way around the legal issues or the privacy issues in the blockchain, because we will actually be talking about, okay, what are the solutions, what are the way out if there are issues, if there are legal constraints to privacy in the blockchain. So what can a company do? Because it shouldn't only be you interpreting the law that the law says this. In terms of an example, the right to be forgotten, the law says that a data subject, that's a person, an individual, has the right to delete his data. ask or to request for his data to be deleted from the system, from a company. So, and if you're unable to do that on the blockchain, so you can interpret that to the company or to the startup that is building a software, a blockchain product, a blockchain-based product. But then, how do you then? I mean, if you give that kind of advice and you are not giving a way out, a leeway, to that interpretation of the law, then it's like you are kind of killing the innovation in the first place. You're trying to kill the business in the first place because you don't know that there are ways you can actually go around that particular limitation. And I mean, when we talk about different ways of, I mean, there are various ways of ensuring privacy in the blockchain now. I mean, starting from ZKPs, I think that's zero knowledge and proofs. We have you storing personal data off chain and then having a kind of on chain pointers where you don't save or you don't store personal data on the blockchain directly. We have, I mean, we have when we I don't know if you've come across permission blockchain. We have different types of blockchain. We have permissioned and permissionless, and then I think we have one of the one. And I think permission we can have a kind of an enterprise blockchain where the nodes are known in the sense that not everybody can actually participate in blockchain. In the blockchain, you have to be it has to be a kind of enterprise. A very good example of this is, I think, IBM has something like that, or we have Hyperledger. Hyperledger, a blockchain, I think it's a permission blockchain. So what I'm saying in essence is that if you're really not familiar with the technology itself, then it might actually be very difficult for you to provide some solutions or advice, legal advice generally. And a way out that, because it's a very large space, it's very expansive, as I've stressed. But you might be thinking that I can't learn all of these things. I mean, it's difficult for you to, or almost impossible for you to learn how privacy relates with blockchain. I mean, as I've discussed, or how dispute resolution relates to the blockchain, or how intellectual property relates to the blockchain, especially when we're talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and and like that, so to say. So one way of actually going around that is if you have a blockchain lawyer and then you have a privacy professional lawyer, they could actually come together and work together. But there will always be a gap. That is you talking about lawyers working together. And the main gap is actually where you have technologists, I mean, blockchain developers, blockchain architects, and you have let me not call it a blockchain lawyer yet, or you have a lawyer generally that needs to work together. A very good example would be maybe blockchain-based product startup that's building a product, and then they are looking for in search for a lawyer that can advise them. So there will always be a kind of gap between a kind of communication gap. And I've said something like that. I mean, when you don't know anything about blockchain and you want to advise a company as regards their operations. So, I mean, if you don't know anything, this will be difficult for you to kind of communicate in their language, so to say, because you won't understand what cryptography is or where it applies. You won't know, how the law kind of applies to that. So, and the way to actually bridge that gap is you knowing a lot about, different. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can everyone hear me? I could hear some noises in the background.
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, we can. Okay, great. And you can just. Okay, everyone is muted now. So, I mean, at any point in time, you can just please stop me and, ask questions. I mean, I want this to be interactive as much as possible. I can be carried away and continue talking, but I'll try as much as possible to ask if you need any clarification. So, what I'm saying in essence is that communication gap that's between a lawyer and blockchain experts or blockchain developers. And the easier way, there's a reason I call it the easier way, but it's actually the best way for lawyers to kind of bridge that gap is learning a lot, not really coding, not learning coding, but learning a lot about those terminologies. You really need to be familiar with those terminologies and understand how they work. And the best way to do this is, of course, lots of readings, lot of upskilling in terms of what these things mean, reading about the theories, and the next thing to do after that is, or during that process, is to really engage with blockchain developers and ask them how some things work. And I mean, even if you just ask them how some things work, you just kind of discuss with them. You want to understand something better. In one way or the other, they will always explain to you that, okay, this is how they do it, or this is how it works in the blockchain environment, so to say. So this will really help you to kind of it will be very insightful for you in terms of breaking some things down and knowing how it works without you doing it yourself. So the next best way, which is, or the very best way, which will most times not be possible for most lawyers, which is something I kind of did a bit. I did actually. I just don't want to be self-righteous or something like that. So I want to be kind of phrase myself. So that's why I said it that way. So the next best way is actually to learn the coding, to learn how things work in the deep inside the technology. And sometimes how these things actually work is when you have a blockchain, we have things like that. I mean, I've seen software developers, I mean, people that were, of course, this is actually abroad, people that were software engineers initially, and they actually read law and started practicing law. I haven't seen any best way to actually do that. I mean, if I can kind of advise anyone, I'll advise the person to kind of probably study anything related to technology first, maybe information technology or computer science, and then come back to study law. That's if you really want to work in the tech space. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. Of course, you could think it's a waste of time, but of course, there are other ways to go around that. But the point I'm just trying to make is, of course, since that is the least way we can have it. I mean, that is the least way we can have a blockchain lawyer. Of course, we will still have to go back to the standard way, which is you learning about the intricacies of blockchain technology and working with blockchain developers. But what I'm trying to say in the other way, just to drive my point home, is that when and I'm not advising anybody to do this, is you learning, because when I started, just to kind of relate to my experience a bit, is when I started, I actually started learning blockchain. Of course, I was learning the technical, the concepts generally. Then I delved into, I had the opportunity to enroll in some hackathons. So I learned a lot about Solidity, smart contracts, dApps, decentralized applications. I mean, how to build those things. But you as a lawyer, as a practicing lawyer, what you just need to do is really to learn, what those things mean and how they work. So not really building those applications or products. So so I think that's the best way to learn a lot about those things. So I was talking about going back to the different areas of law that's related to blockchain. So I spoke about some privacy, you being a privacy professional, and then learning a lot about blockchain and seeing how it's related, and advising and also helping your clients to kind of move forward in terms of solutions, that these are ways that are doing it. And it's because you understand those concepts of how to process, how a blockchain-based company can process personal data without violating privacy requirements, like data minimization or the right to be forgotten, rights to deletion. You can really help them to grow their business, so to say. So because a lawyer should actually be a partner to a business and not just an advisor. So on the So to become a blockchain lawyer, so I think the first thing you need to do, as I said initially, before I move ahead, just for you to hold on to that point, is to learn a lot about the concepts, and it's a lot, and that's why we can't even cover it. That's why I'm using this approach to kind of lead you or kind of guide you in terms of what you need to do, and be a kind of mentor to tell you that, okay, this is what you need to do to get to this, because we can't, even if we're having this class for a month, we won't be able to cover every necessary things. So I was talking about the different areas in blockchain that relates to law. So I have spoken about data privacy, then we have intellectual property, then we even have dispute resolution, where you have to, maybe it's relating to a smart contract, or it's relating to DeFi, that's the decentralized finance issues. So there are, and this is one way we can also help judges, because when those cases get to court, and you need, because the judge has to be knowledgeable about these issues before they can really sit on it and make decisions, pass decisions on those issues. So I think one of the ways we can actually do this, as well as lawyers as well, is to offer those services to judges. And I mean, from this, I would say there are a lot of ways we can really help the ecosystem, the blockchain community, in terms of the legal infrastructure, the legal framework. There's a lot of things we can do. I'm not sure we've really discussed, I mean, blockchain, lawyers or professionals have really discussed how we can really help the court system to really understand blockchain, and if there are any issues, before them, they can really, sit and decide on those kind of matters. So, so I think those are ways you can go about this. So there are many courses that you can take online, and there are lawyers that you can also reach out to. I know some of you know Senator A, and some of the associates in the firm as well. They're good people that you can actually reach out to. And I believe lawyers in this space will always be willing to to discuss, what you need to know, and what have you. And another thing I think I want to talk about is as regards, sorry, just a moment. I lost my thoughts. Okay, I'm not remembering now, but then I know I wanted to talk about something in particular. Okay, I wanted to talk about the regulatory framework that you need to consider. I believe I was talking about the SEC rules the last time, and one area that I need to touch upon again as regards blockchain and law is securities laws. And what I mean by securities, I am talking about even as it relates to capital markets, because that's one of the ways, because one of the areas that we see continuous growth in the blockchain ecosystem is finance. So that's why we have DeFi, so decentralized finance. So I think, and before I continue with that, you just need to open your mind that we have different areas in blockchain that I believe I mentioned this initially. So we have you building blockchain applications, which are actually called dApps, decentralized applications. You building DeFi, decentralized finance. You building NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and I believe that is where the NBA digital stamp, seal and stamp might actually comes in. I've not, because nothing was, I know there was a question relating to that, but I believe we can always come back to this and talk more about it. I'm not sure if, because nothing was really revealed about how the solution was built, and even all the necessary safeguards that we're taking. Don't let me go straight into the question yet, but what I'm saying in essence is I'm talking about the different areas that you can actually look into as blockchain lawyers. So for you to become a competent blockchain lawyer, you really need to look into these different areas. You need to consider them. you can actually work in all of these areas if you want, or you can probably stick to one especially if anyways, because you're just starting. If as an established lawyer, I mean a lawyer that has actually been practicing, and maybe we have a lawyer in the securities space. I mean, you advise as regards capital markets, as regards companies going public, or as regards debts and equity securities. I mean, it would have been easy for such person to move into the DeFi space. But then, as new lawyers, I mean, because I believe we have practicing lawyers here already, and young lawyers. So you can still kind of, if you are interested in a particular area and you want to really go techie, I mean, you want to become a technology lawyer, one of the things you can actually do is to just see how both areas relate. So it's not like if you want to be a technology lawyer, you can't practice in other areas. So you can actually practice in the securities law area, and then also bring in blockchain technology and work on those kind of things together. And I think I'll be rounding up soon. But then I think I was making a point initially as regards the regulatory framework. So so I was talking about the SEC rules for issues. I saw some news recently as regards SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, issuing one by I think, I'm not sure if it is custodian, if it is digital asset custodian license to EcoBank. I'm not sure. I don't want to state it, but I think there's a kind of developments. Maybe during my short break, probably I'll see if that's news is correct, so that I can elaborate on that. But I've not really, I mean, aside that, I've not really seen any license being issued to anybody recently. Really, I mean, since we had that rule probably around 2 years ago. But hopefully we're going to be seeing developments in that area. So what you really need to do is really to look into, that's the major rule we have aside the blockchain strategy policy or blockchain policy that we have in the country. And so what you can do with these two legal framework or legal documents is really to go there, especially the SEC rules. You really need to go deep into it and read a lot about digital assets, what makes a token or what makes a token security tokens or a digital assets as identified or as defined by the SEC rules, and who could and what are the requirements of registering as a digital assets custodian, or a digital assets a virtual assets service provider, or a digital assets issuance platform, and things like that. And when can you issue tokens to kind of raise funds for a company as well, and then what are the legal implications and what are the requirements or the obligations of those different stakeholders or parties or stakeholders in that sector. So you really need to look at that sector. You can just browse the sectors on issuance of digital assets. I believe you're going to get that document. And then looking at the Nigerian blockchain strategy policy, I believe there's a lot to learn from there as well, so that you will know what's kind of the strategy, even though it's not, we haven't really seen much implementation of that policy, but I believe it's a very good way to start. Even if you're interested in maybe if you are and you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you want to build something and maybe it's related to blockchain, you could actually be a blockchain founder, and then even be the legal counsel, blockchain lawyer for that particular startup. But what I'm saying in essence is that you could really look at the blockchain policy and see the different innovative ideas you could bring out of it, and in terms of how you can actually advise your clients as well. I mean, that's even the first one before you even start thinking about entrepreneurial mindsets or entrepreneurial your entrepreneurial journey. So what I'm saying in essence as regards the policy is there are different ways in terms of training, in terms of in terms of different platforms that the government is looking to build, how you can work with governments, how you can work with different organizations. They could be civic charities, so to say. We have some non-governmental organizations that are like CBAN and the likes that are really working in this space. And you can really work with them. You can volunteer to work with them. And that's really kind of, I know I'm putting all these things together because there's a lot of things to really talk about. And I believe this, with all these things that I've said, it will really give you kind of insight into what you need to do to kind of have to kind of progress in this in the blockchain space as a lawyer. So I don't know if you have any question at this point. If I can answer any, I mean, aside the ones you have in your slide. But I think Mr. George is here, so I think I'll just stop so that he can take up the conversation, and I will be back in probably 15 to 20 minutes before Mr. George rounds up. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. George.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, so much, Mr. Ridwan, for helping us just run through some of what is important as pertaining to blockchain. So we'll be having Mr. George next. So, sir, please, we just want to hear from you in like the next 20 minutes on your take about the blockchain space and what you think maybe information needed by our mentees to know about this particular area. You're welcome, sir. Mr. George, are you with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, guys. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, good evening, yeah. Mr. Ridwan, good evening, and thanks for the shout out. Well appreciated. Good evening, everybody. Great one, as usual. Very, very apt and salient points that you have mentioned over the course of the discussion that I caught. Sorry, I joined it a little bit late. I'm actually on the road. Right. Okay. So to the topic. This is blockchain, blockchain and law, right? I think I heard that when Ridwan was talking. Is this blockchain and law? Or just blockchain? The topic
Yes, sir, it's
for
just
the day.
blockchain. It's just blockchain, sir. It's introduction to blockchain generally.
Okay. Because the audience are heavily or predominantly people in the legal domain, definitely would be skewing those conversations with law, and I'm sure that's what Ridwan also tried to do. Like I said, very salient and very apt contribution. However, I think there's only one part of that take that I might not 100% totally aligned to, which is the part around the blockchain, intending blockchain lawyers having to go study some IT or computer related program first before becoming or studying law. That would honestly, in my own opinion, be a total waste of their time. They just need to be people that are ready to consume knowledge, right? And people that are ready to go the extra mile to achieve what they want to achieve. They can go ahead and study the law that they're interested in. And while doing that, there are a lot of ways they can catch up on the requisite blockchain knowledge that they need, right, to practice law within the affairs and domain of the industry. If you go study any first degree in any Nigerian university today, and because you want to become a blockchain lawyer and go do whether it's computer science itself, you'll probably find out that you wasted your time in university because, well, at best, right, I probably know like maybe one or two of them that might even touch that subject area. See, by the time you graduate, maybe at a very peripheral level in your final year. But for the most part, most of them will probably not even cover that topic because the lecturers that are teaching you those things, for a good part of them, have not even moved into that industry themselves. So you're seeing a computer science student in a good number of Nigerian universities studying Fortran 77, COBOL, things that were like ancient programming languages that were used in the 80s that are only relevant to hardware engineering. If you're doing software engineering, it's a complete waste of your time, right? So if you're not doing hardware engineering, which is the only part really that most of our Nigerian universities cover, right? Because of where they are coming from. Software engineering moves at an incredible pace, right? That most of them, or most of the way our syllables in the Nigerian universities are structured, software engineering moves at such a pace that our syllables struggle to catch up. So that's why you see most of the top engineers, most of the top founders that you see in the country today. If you go check their first degree, you see funny things, medicine, um, you see different things other than computer science, right? You see, because most of those knowledge come from the courses, the education they acquire after the whole university day. So it's just about, there's a lot of resources online, there's a lot of certification courses, there's just a lot of resources out there that if you're really serious about acquiring that knowledge, you will get it while studying your main course. So let's say you want to be a lawyer, you want to play in property law, or you want to play in corporate law, or you want to play in whatever subset of law that you have chosen, right? There is blockchain application within that subset of law that you have decided to focus on, right? And within that subset of law that you want to focus on, now try to understand how blockchain impacts, that subset, and you can now get that knowledge via a lot of um other study resources, right? Other courses you can take outside of your traditional university environment, right? That is really what happens, because, like I said, that industry moves at an incredible pace that the Nigerian university syllabus can't keep up, right? They can't keep up. So it's not even their fault. It's just the structure of how our school or academic system is. So it's not the place for you to gain anything significant to practice blockchain in any way, in any form, shape or size, right? Now, taking that out, talking about the industry and blockchain generally, of course, mentioning it with law. For those who know me well around the class, like I always say, I'm a big proponent of you and you enterprises, right? And what really does you and you enterprises mean? You and you enterprises really mean you looking out for you, right? You and you means what is it that you want to carve out of this entire thing? How do you want to take that journey into understanding this space and merging it with whatever space that you're currently operating on? So if you're a legal person and you want to become a blockchain lawyer, what element of it resonates with what you're currently studying or practicing, and how do you want to expand into it? If you want to understand the industry generally, there is the part where you're looking at the technical side of things, which you might necessarily not bore yourself with, but it's important to know a bit of it at the high level, not necessarily the building or programming part of it, right? Understand the concepts. You might not understand how to apply how to create the concepts, but you understand the concept. Yeah. And then you understand, okay, this is how I want to, bring it into what I'm doing. Become a trusted authority in that space, in that niche, and then grow out from there, right? Pick a niche of it, understand how it's been applied, study a lot of case studies, right? Take a lot of courses around the things that the subject area around what you want to do, and grow out from there. And I tell you, the industry is still very new, especially in this part of the world. There are a lot of interest with Africa and Africa's adoption of blockchain, simply because Nigeria particularly is one of the highest, and when I mean one of the highest, like top 3 globally, when it comes to trades within the blockchain industry. Trades, right? Nigeria ranks top 3 on trades, P2P trades, right? So in fact, it was worse when regulation was very hard on blockchain. So Nigerians find creative way to use P2P. And when I mean to be P2P, I mean peer-to-peer between me and you without an intermediary, right? Just like when if we chat on WhatsApp now, say, guy, I sell Bitcoin. So, okay, I won't buy Bitcoin. Okay, this is my wallet number. Send this amount, right? To give me your wallet address. Send this amount to this account. I will send you 10 Bitcoin to your wallet address. P2P, between you and the person, nobody even knows that transaction has happened, except the guys that are writing those transactions to your wallet, right? That's technical now. But Nigeria ranks like top 3, right, globally when it comes to amount of trade. So there's a lot of interest in harnessing blockchain opportunities that Nigeria present. Every other day, I have reached out. In fact, I think still a message on me waiting for me to schedule a podcast with some of the guys Token.com that's trying to come into Africa, right, for penetrate the Nigerian market for blockchain, right? You get consultations here and there around the industry. So once you create yourself as a trusted authority in the space, and it doesn't take much really, because honestly, this is the best time for you, right? The regulation is not deep. The regulation, which is very critical for you to understand how blockchain is regulated in Nigeria, and then expand your knowledge beyond the Nigerian coast to Africa and then globally. Today in Nigeria, because we are talking about mostly people in the law space here, regulation is the first thing you need to understand, how blockchain is regulated. Today in Nigeria, most of the regulation of blockchain is being driven by SEC. I think Ridwan mentioned it in his communication. It's being driven by SEC, and that's basically what he was trying to remember then. That's basically around raising funds through blockchain using ICOs, right? ICOs mean initial coin offerings. So it's where how companies raise money with shares, right? I want to raise money, I want to sell my shares as a company, right? You see companies advertise 1 billion shares available for sale at 10 kobo per share, and then people start buying shares. In the blockchain industry, when you want to do it for the very first time, it's called an ICO. In the traditional industry, it's called an IPO, right? IPO in the traditional industry, finance industry, means initial public offering, right? When a company for the first time goes into the stock exchange and sells shares, right? And you buy those shares, you own a piece of that company and you give them money to grow their business. Now, if you want to do that in the blockchain world, it's called ICOs, right? Initial coin offerings. And that's because the guys, they sell a coin. Any blockchain entity, has a coin that represents a piece of value, right? A piece of tradable value that you can exchange with another person, on behalf of that particular company. So you have a coin, you create a coin that represents your assets, right? So whatever asset you want to use, but when you're raising capital for the first time through initial coin offering, SEC has very stringent regulation around that it came up with just about 2 years ago, thereabout, like Grade One mentioned, right? And you need to understand how that whole thing works, right? You need to understand the intricacies around that whole bit of regulating assets, raising funds, because the Security Exchange Commission, which is what SEC is really, the full meaning of SEC, is saddled with the responsibility of managing assets and securities. So immediately you identify you as that you're dealing in blockchain assets or blockchain securities, then SEC has a role to regulate you. However, the missing piece is the fact that the other leg of that regulation is supposed to come from the central bank, right? CBN. Now, SEC is pro-blockchain and pro-crypto and doesn't have a problem with crypto, and is trying to regulate it because it has seen that it's a necessary, quote and unquote now, necessary evil, right? There's nothing it can do about it, so it better regulate it. But CBN, the central bank, is pro-blockchain but not pro-crypto. And there's a big difference, right? People think crypto means blockchain and blockchain means crypto, but it's not. There is a big difference, right? Cryptocurrency is the means to exchange value within the blockchain industry. But the blockchain is the infrastructure itself that you can use to build just about anything in Web3. So your currency, like you have your Bitcoin, you have different kinds of coins, is built on the blockchain. So blockchain doesn't mean crypto. Crypto is an element of blockchain. So your cryptocurrency is built on the blockchain infrastructure. So blockchain is the infrastructure. So the CBN is pro-blockchain, is pro the infrastructure, that you can use that infrastructure to just to make things more efficient, make things more secured, whatever it is you want to do. But they are against cryptocurrencies. They're against crypto, which is the means of exchanging value, right? The means of trading value within the blockchain. It's funny, right? It's a chicken and egg situation, because really, you can't have any blockchain without a cryptocurrency, because there has to be a means of exchanging value in that blockchain. So what are they preaching? Then they come about what they call the CBDC, right? The central bank's own kind of currency, in the lamest way to explain it, right? The central bank owned digital currency, the CBDC. What that means is that instead of you playing with cryptocurrencies that the central bank doesn't have eyesight on, they don't see, they don't control, they can't regulate. So if you're making trade with Bitcoin, the central bank doesn't have visibility into what you're buying or what you're selling, whatever is exchanging value, which is the biggest problem any central bank has. They want to be able to be on top of anything that flows money in and out of the country. There's no central bank that doesn't have a problem with not being able to control the inflow and outflow of money. And it's the biggest issue they have with blockchain. They have with cryptocurrency, because it's something that allows financial transaction that they don't have visibility on. They don't have control over on. So if they want to, maybe do their own monetary policies or inflation policies, then you're making financial moves, financial trades, exchanges in something they can't control, that messes up their plan. So that is the problem they have with cryptocurrencies, right? So they bring out what they call CBDCs, right? The central bank digital currencies, right? This is where you got the advent of the e-naira, right? A digital currency built out of the blockchain, backed by the central bank, right? And pegged to the naira, tied to the naira. So the value of the e-naira is the same value of the normal naira. So it doesn't mess what they are doing up, right? So they only allow you to play with the CBDC. But when they come to playing with other digital currencies that they cannot control, they have a problem with it. But SEC, on the other side, right, the Security Exchange Commission, don't have a problem with it because they know that there's nothing they can do about it. So rather, they embrace it, they try to understand it, and they try to now find a way to manage it. So because there's that gap between the CBN side of things, which is the transactional side of things, and the SEC side of things, right, which is the asset side of things, that is where we are here. So as lawyers, you need to understand the interplay between the regulations happening around SEC and the allowances happening around, the transactional side of things, right, on the CBN side. So just let us know that. So when we look at blockchain generally as it relates to you, right, as a lawyer, understanding what is happening on the regulation side, understand what is happening on the operational side. And that is, when you start advising, somebody wants to raise money, right? How does this whole thing work? You need to have a clue about it. If you're a property lawyer, how does this thing work in using NFTs to sell properties? So you now look at what space am I operating on in law and how is blockchain impacting that space? You need to understand it. If you're somebody that is selling a corporate lawyer, you need to understand how trading works in the blockchain using cryptocurrencies. You need to understand this whole concept. I'm talking about CBDCs and all, right? You need to understand the whole concept around, hold on. You need to understand the whole concept around how, centralized and decentralized trades works. So you need to, before you look at the entire whole industry of blockchain and start worrying yourself about all the technical jargons, start by understanding your own space that you're already used to. How is blockchain impacting that space, that niche, that your niche? Start small, right? Start small, start from your niche, understand your niche, right? And how blockchain is impacting your niche. If it's what's this one that we're always talking about here now? Intellectual property, for example. Understand how blockchain impacts intellectual property. Understand the workings of blockchain around intellectual property. If it's property law, same thing. If it's corporate law, same thing. So first of all, understand your niche. Understand how blockchain impacts your niche. Then when you have a good grasp of it, then you expand a little bit further. And gradually, you get into the entire industry. If you just try to jump in and try to make sense of the entire industry, it might stretch you more, it might confuse you more. But as you grow niche by niche, the concepts you understood while you're trying to understand what is happening in your niche will help you make sense of what is happening, right, in the other niches as you're expanding your horizon around the whole blockchain Web3 space. So start with your niche, leave all the technical jargons that are floating all around. Start with understanding, even Google can help you. Look for case studies around your niche. Look for the languages that connect to your niche, right? And start the learning from there. Then grow out. Even the technical side of things, start with understanding it around your niche of interest or your niche that you're currently studying or your niche that you're operating on, right? And then grow out from there. And that way, you'll be able to add value, right? You'll be able to add value because you'll be able to gain quick mastery of the whole concept, right? You get that mastery because if you don't show mastery, if you don't build yourself as a trusted authority, nobody will want to take advice from you. The only time someone wants to take advice from you is when they see that you have a mastery of what the hell you're talking about. So, but that mastery will be harder for you, except you are a very voracious reader, a consumer of knowledge. But that mastery will be harder if you're just trying to grasp the entire thing all at the same time. You will just be lost, especially because you're not naturally even playing in the technical space. Now, but if you're playing in the Lego space, take it one step at a time. Understand what is going on in your niche and then grow out. Understand regulation and then now grow out to now start understanding application of blockchain within niches that surround you. Once you understand the application of blockchain very well, in your quest to understand the application in your niche, you come across concepts that you can now learn deeper in. And then when you learn deeper, then you can help you grow out. And with that, you can be able to build your own brand, right? And build your own footprint into what you want to be as a blockchain lawyer, right? And then have your own words. And that's what I mean when I talk about you and you enterprises. So I don't want to make this conversation very technical. I want it just to be focused around how it relates to what you can do with blockchain, how it relates to what you're already doing, right? And how you make the most out of the blockchain and convert that your knowledge into naira and kobo or dollars, right, in your bank account, rather than trying to understand, technicalities or program or the engineering part of blockchain that you probably will never get yourself involved in anyways in the first place. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for that breakdown. We really and we sincerely do appreciate. So, like Mr. George and Mr. Ridwan have, I think in the last 30, 40 minutes, okay, almost an hour, they've been able to just run us through just some of the intricacies as it regards to the blockchain industry. So please, we want to hear from our mentees. We only have one group, right? So please kindly, the presenter for this class should kindly just please turn on your share your slides, and then 7 minutes, just take your presentation so that we can move on and try and see if we can end the class as early as possible. So please, the group presenter, if you are available and on call, please share your screen and take your presentation for 7 minutes. Thank you. Do we have the presenter for the group, or someone that can step in on behalf of the group if the group presenter is not available? Please, let's do that quickly so that we can move on. Okay, don't we have the presenter or someone who can step in on behalf of the group to make presentation? Okay, Mr. Martins, I can see you're muted. Are you going to be making presentation on behalf of the group?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
I'm about to share my screen.
Sorry about
Emedion.
ordering your name. Okay, I'm coming. Let me unshare this slide. Please, you can go ahead and share your screen. Please, if you're having issues bringing up your slides, you can start the presentation. I will try as much as possible to help you with the sharing of the slides. So please just start your presentation so that we don't waste any time.
Okay, about blockchain and regulatory use of on regulatory uses, which has to do with legal development. The introduction, blockchain, decentralized blockchain. The meaning of blockchain. Blockchain is a decentralized, distributed ledger used to record transactions, and the transactions must be transparent, mutable, and should guarantee security. An example of blockchain. Blockchain stores information on monetary transactions using cryptocurrencies, and they can also store other types of information like product tracking and other data. Example, if you want to track food products from when they are shipped till they are delivered. It can also record and store data using decentralized techniques to eliminate the need for third parties like banks or government. There are different types of blockchain: public, private, hybrid, and consortium, but public and private are the main types. And these blockchains, they offer different levels of securities. Moving on to the regulatory uses of blockchain technology. One, and this is seen in the case study of the use of blockchain was streamlining compliance, anti-money laundering. The third one is improving record keeping and evidence management. Example, the Honduras blockchain land registry. That is using the blockchain in securing land registration. The next one is facilitating cross-border trade and finance. Moving on to the next. The subtopic is legal landscape surrounding blockchains. We have the early legal challenges and initial concerns, such as anonymity, fraud, and legal uncertainties. We also have the regulatory approaches across different jurisdictions, like the United States CEC regulations and EU's GDPR consideration. The next is the role of international bodies, example, the Financial Action Task Force and the International Organizations for Standardization. Moving on to the Nigerian context, which has to do with blockchain and regulatory development. The growth in blockchain has increased in Nigeria, whereby different individuals want to go into tech, and even financial institutions, they also show interest in this field. Over the past few years, we have witnessed the rise in the use of cryptocurrency.
Emma DeYoung, please, your network is not so clear. Please, can you maybe kindly change direction? Can you hear me? Our group presenter, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, please continue with your presentation. We are not really hearing you.
Should I continue from where I stopped?
Yes, please continue from where you stopped.
Okay. There is the rise of cryptocurrency exchange like the Bybit, Bitget, Binance, and other platforms that Nigerians use for trading cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are the most critical for financial sectors, and also blockchains they are used for Nigerian agricultural sector to enable supply chains to be easy. Then in governance, blockchain they are used to ensure that things are not changed, and also the are not changed when trying to register for lands and voting. The specific examples of successful blockchain initiative, projects, and startups include the challenges and future directions. We have the regulatory challenges, and these challenges address jurisdictional issues when dispute arises. It also balances innovations, consumer protection, and security. It also resolves clashes between the blockchain technology and other rights. The next is potential for harmonizing laws. The need for international cooperation in blockchain regulations also has to do with it, and the prospect for global standards and unified regulatory approaches. The next is the future legal developments, predictions on the evolution of blockchain regulations, and the impact of blockchains on traditional legal practices and structures. Conclusion: blockchain technology with its diverse form can be tailored to meet various needs according to evolves the legal landscape, and also its unique challenges and opportunities in the blockchain. In Nigeria, where interest in blockchain is growing rapidly, the development of balanced regulatory framework will be salient for fostering innovation while ensuring transparency. I think I'll stop there.
All right. Thank you so much for stepping in to make presentation on behalf of your group. Well done to you and to everyone who puts in the efforts to ensure that the presentation was made and submitted on time. So well done to those who participated. A job well done on your part. So we'll be handing over to the mentors for just a quick feedback on the presentations, and then we'll be taking pictures and then questions and answers. So please, over firstly to Mr. Ridwan on your feedback on the presentation, any knowledge gap that you would like to highlight and give feedback on, and then we'll move on to Mr. George before taking questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'd like to make it a general comment because there are some gaps that I identified, especially in terms of the use of the concepts like the crises and the likes. I mean, in terms of where to actually use them. So the general comment is in terms of understanding this concept. I believe I mentioned it in the last class that one of the issues with the blockchain space is the concepts or in terms of how easy or how simple are the terms or the terminologies that are being used, especially when users are interacting with the technology. And if we're going to compare that with the AI space. I mean, in terms of, look at how ChatGPT is very seamless to use, even though there are some critical issues as well. And even if we're talking about some of the privacy issues when it comes to blockchain, I haven't really seen. I've been really looking forward to see that discussion in terms of comparing the issues we've been having with blockchain technology in the first place when it comes to privacy, especially especially when we're talking about data anonymization and the rights to be forgotten, and how it is also difficult to for you to delete. I mean, some people will even say impossible to delete personal data that has been trained with the personal data we're trained or the AI system the personal data that are trained on, or the AI, how will I put this now? The AI systems that's we're trained with some certain personal data. So how those personal data are going to be, how they can be deleted. I mean, so there are lots of issues, even though just like blockchain, when we have how we have this then in blockchain space, there are lots of kind of research and research and developments here and there as regards privacy issues also in the AI space. But the point I started with is in terms of the concepts and how it was, even though the use cases of both technologies differs, but in terms of how even professionals space, how they are willing to use the different technologies. So going back to blockchain technology, so the point I'm trying to make is that you will come across some terms that might be difficult, even as a blockchain lawyer, because if I'm going to contrast that again with AI, when you are even though I mean when we look at the regulatory landscape as well, it's a bit different as well. If you look at the EU AI Act, or you look at some other AI frameworks or standards, it's quite easy for you to kind of relate. They don't really talk about some very some very highly technical issues, like when we're talking about of course it's also very important for you to of course understand that machine learning and all the deep learning and some other NLP, natural language processing and the likes sometimes, but not as important as when you're talking about the blockchain technology space, because you need to learn about some things like hashing, cryptography. You need to learn about a lot of all the things, even when we're talking about solutions to enable privacy capabilities on the blockchain, like zero knowledge proofs and the likes. You need to learn about those things. So let me go back to my main points now. I just want you to understand what I'm trying to say. So but the point is that you will come across these things and they might be difficult sometimes to kind of relate them or connect them with what you're reading or what you're learning. And the best way to do this is, I mean, if you don't understand anything or how it relates with something, or maybe because you've not come across a use case of a particular term or concept. So the best thing is actually to make more research, to kind of go deeper into what that thing means and how it really makes sense to you, how it can really be used in the real environments, in the real sense of it. And another thing you can actually do is to, of course, that is not advisable all the time. You can always reach out to, unless you have maybe a close person that you can always reach out to explain some of these concepts to you. So what cryptocurrencies means, what tokens means, and the different types of tokens, or where are these different concepts like NFTs, where are they used and how do they really make sense? So that's how you'll be able to know that's how you'll be able to understand the legal implications of these different terms or concepts. So that's what I have kind of understood from the preparation of the slides and the presentation of the PowerPoint slides as well. So just really try to understand, try to chip into the meaning of these things and try to kind of relate with them. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan, for that feedback. Please, we want to give the floor to Mr. George for any feedback that he has as pertaining the presentation, sir. So, sir, do you have any feedback for us?
Honestly, I didn't get a good part of it. I had to quickly run out to wrap up what I was doing so that I could get off where I am to head home. So I think I just got towards the last part of it, right? And I think this one was very spot on with the contributions that he did. So I was really not going into a lot other than to say that the little bit I caught up just shows that the students here on this course, there's a deliberate attempt to really be on top of understanding these concepts, right? And they should just try as much to continue to push more. Like Ridwan said, try to find out more from some of the things that, even though Google is there, YouTube is there, they still need some extra bit of explanation of those concepts. They should still reach out to do that. I'm a big advocate of personalizing some of these things, bringing it down to your locality. Are there use cases that you can use to explain any of these concepts that people can relate to within your locality? Try to infuse them, try to find them. It will also help you make sense of these things. But generally, I think I would just piggyback on Ridwan's comments as to regards to the presentation, other than encouraging the team to keep on keeping it on. You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Sorry for that small break in transmission from my end, if I would say. So we'll be going to questions right about now. And I'm sure our mentees on call have been able to pick a thing or two from the session. I also want to advise that if it's possible from your end, from the end of the mentees, please revisit this class on YouTube so that whatever you may have missed out in the discussion, right, or the presentation from our mentors, you can kindly always revisit the YouTube video because this class is being live streamed. So, and we'll be posting the link to this class in your WhatsApp group. So please kindly revisit it so that you can, some of the key things that have been made mention of in class that you have missed, you can always get those informations and leverage on them. So like I said, we're heading over to questions. So do we have anyone with live questions? You can kindly indicate if you have any live questions. So do we have any mentees with live questions? Do we have anyone with a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no questions, I'll be taking the question that was sent on behalf. Okay. Okay, I think the group is saying that they had questions. They shared some questions on the presentation slides. So I'll just try to look at that quickly so that we can take those questions and then we can call it a night. Okay. Yes, so there are some questions on the presentation slides. One of it is, with the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, recent move to get lawyers stamp and seal on blockchain, how can the interpretation of the right to be forgotten be reconciled with the immutable character of the blockchain technology? I think Mr. Ridwan has made some comments in this regards, but I don't know if he has any extra thing he would like to add on this basis just before we move to the next question. The question is, with the Nigerian Bar Association recent move to get lawyer stamps and seal on blockchain, how can the interpretation of the right to be forgotten be reconciled with the immutability in the immutable character of the blockchain technology?
Yeah, thank you for that question again. Yeah, just as you said, I made a slight comment on this earlier when I was talking about how privacy relates with blockchain. And I said I was going to talk more about it at this time. And I really want to be cautious of time as well, so that we're not later like the last time. So the few things I want to say, I mean, it would have been great if this question was asked before, maybe when if NBA had kind of given a kind of public announcement that they're building these, and then they need lawyers, suggestions or observations, or what have you, comments, so that, or maybe comments from professionals. But I want to believe that the rights professionals, blockchain professionals, experts and privacy professionals as well, were actually consulted before it was built. Because I don't know of anything. I haven't seen anything. I don't think NBA has released anything aside the announcements, and I'm just hoping that everything was done very well. So I'm not sure if it's going to be, because if it's really on the blockchain, I mean that's would I mean with everything we've explained initially, if it's just on the blockchain without looking at different mechanisms to ensure that privacy requirements are facilitated, so to say, then that's would be I don't know what to say, but that wouldn't be good at all. But then I really hope that that privacy requirements were really put into consideration before this innovation was built. It's really innovative, but as I said, there are different ways that you can actually ensure the privacy of an individual on blockchain. And I mentioned some of them, like zero knowledge proofs, like you saving or storing data offline or off chain, and having a kind of on-chain pointer. There's using different pets as well. I know I can't really remember the actual. I know zero knowledge proof is also a pet. I mean, what I mean by pets is privacy enhancing technology. Privacy enhancing technologies are technologies that allows you to make use or to process personal data without violating individuals' rights, so to say. So probably without revealing those information sometimes, like homomorphic encryption and even federated learning. So hopefully, I want to believe that maybe the professionals, maybe the professionals or the company that was consulted or that was contracted would have put all this into consideration. But then as we move on, and I hope even in terms of security issues and vulnerabilities, because when you talk of, because the main reason is the main reason why this was developed, one of the major reasons I believe is to counter forgery. So, and it wouldn't be good if we can still see people that can hack into people's accounts and even get, it would even be on a larger scale, just like we used to say that when you have abilities, or when you can do things digitally, it's just like AI. AI kind of proliferates. It kind of expands the issues we've been having in the society already. So the same thing as other technologies sometimes, even though of course we even though they offer advantages as well. So that's the reason I always advocate for a kind of societal they call it socio-technical approach to building technologies, in the sense that you are always looking at the demerits, not really the demerits, but then the arms that such technologies could actually bring up, that can actually come up as a result of building that technology, so that you can always, there's something called privacy by default and privacy by design. So it's something like technology ethics by design, where you're thinking of ethics at the beginning of that of building that product. And you will have something called privacy by default, or maybe ethics by default, when you've successfully, when you've done this, when you've considered this at the beginning of the developments. Meaning that when there are any issues, it's going to be very easy for you to resolve those issues, to address those issues with that technology. So making reference to privacy by design and privacy by default, what I mean by that is, if you're implementing privacy by design very well in your products, that means whenever you're collecting personal data, there's high likelihood. Of course, this is more expansive than I'm saying it, but because of time, I'll just say it this way: that when you've implemented privacy by design, so when you're collecting and processing personal data in that products, it ensures that those the privacy requirements will automatically be upheld, so to say. So I believe that should be the thinking when we are building products. So in terms of the NBA blockchain based stamp, seal and stamp, I just hope that all these things were put into consideration before it was built. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan, for helping us with that question. The second question here on their slides is the role of legal bodies to regulate smart contracts in blockchain technology internationally and in Nigeria? International and in Nigeria. I'll go with the question again. It says, is the role of legal bodies to regulate smart contracts in blockchain technology international and in Nigeria? I will just be giving this question, or handing this question over to Mr. George, if he has anything to say on it. Mr. George, did you hear us, sir?
Yeah, come again with the question, yeah.
The question is the role of legal bodies to regulate smart contracts in blockchain technology international and in Nigeria? Is it international and in Nigeria?
The role?
Yes, the roles of legal bodies to regulate smart contracts in blockchain. Does it just happen internationally, or it also happens here in Nigeria?
So I try my best to manage my thoughts on this, right? And that's because quite a number of the guys that are the actors, right, trying to do these things in Nigeria are some of the guys that I relate very well with. Some of them are fast becoming more politicians than practitioners. So I try to manage my comments around, some of these things. Fact is, there's a balance, right? From senator, there's that pushed Saiban to Alta, to top blockchain lawyers in the industry like Barry No. I mean, these are guys that we relate very well. Some of these things are done, for what I would call relevance. Some of them are well thought of. Trying to regulate smart contracts in itself, it's a funny attempt, really, because the whole idea of smart contracts by its concept is that it is self-executing, right? While the concept of it, right, can be there is room for arbitration around what happens after a smart contract self-executes and the parties involved, one party is not or have issues around, the resultant effect of what has executed. There's room for that. But smart contract by its nature, the whole idea of it and why it has the level of trust and validity is that nobody interferes with it. Nobody does anything around it. It's an agreement around how something will run. And we have both agreed to it, or the people that are trying to initiate a particular transaction have told you this is exactly what would happen. If X does Y, Z would happen. It is clear, right? And when the smart contract executes, nothing will stop Z from happening if X does Y. There's no context or there's no so the new cases are trying to now make case for like situational things are part of the things the whole concept on its own is even trying to correct. So it is not something that is commonplace. It is happening globally, not in the same way that the guys in the country here are trying to push it, right? What is happening globally is more of the arbitration side of things, but you cannot regulate an instrument that is designed to be able to run without context or environmental factors, without any interference. That is the whole idea of it in the very first place. So, but you can arbitrate, right, on the actions that have happened afterwards. That, okay, this action have happened, but I'm not happy because of this. Then you arbitrate. And that is what happens externally. Or you go and seek further redress to explain, right, how this thing was not in good faith of what the initial intended thing was done to execute. But not necessarily to execute the smart, to regulate how the smart contract is being done in the first place. I mean, it's why I said that I just try to control my comments around it, because some of the actions within the industry players, right? Some of us, are gradually going from advocacy to try to get more relevance and go into directions that not necessarily standard practice, but things that they might be genuinely doing it out of their own belief, right? But those concepts are really haven't matured globally. But as it is today, smart contract by its nature, the whole idea of it by its nature is that it is not subject to context or environmental influence. When we agree it and put it in a smart contract, between me and you, none of us can influence it. And that is the whole, and that is even why that is even where it gets its use and value from in the first place. Is that when we agree with and we set it in a smart contract, I can't influence it, you can't influence it, right? And if we want to rewrite that contract, both of us have to agree to override it. We can't change the existing one, but we can create another contract that will override it. But as long as we have created that first contract, we can't change it. It will execute in the way and manner we have created it. Nobody can change it. But what we can do is we can have another new agreement and write another new contract that would kind of overwrite the first one. But we cannot change that first one that we have already agreed. Except we agree Well, except we have another new agreement and then create another smart contract that will override it. You get? So, I mean, it's just people, like I said, just trying to have whatever it is that they believe in, and trying to stretch it, right? But by and large, I mean, it's not as commonplace as they want to make us believe. And just lastly, to just touch on the initial question that Ridwan commented on. You see, the MBA, I've had my own run into with them in one or two other engagements, right? They are naturally not pro. So they claim that they are pro IT, but a lot of things that they do are not pro IT, right? Because, and the simple reason, I mean, I've had the guys that are playing in that industry, not blockchain now, on the IT side, guys like DIY Law, those ladies, I forgot what's her name now, and My Law Legal. Now, I've had implementations that they wrote letters to try to shut down, and the reason being that in their own mindsets, even though those projects are not against the MBA and the law practice, right? However, you are going to advertise those projects. So if I say, for example, go to an online platform, if you need legal advice, you can reach out to a lawyer, right? Or if you want to do a document, right, you can go to a legal platform with a few clicks, you can create a document, right? So in the MBA's mind, that is an indirect way to advertise law, which is against the practice of law, or which is against MBA regulation. You can't advertise law. So when you're advertising an IT project that is solving a legal problem, they see it as you're advertising law in some way or the other. And then you get a letter from them to shut it down. Or then you start going, having a back and forth arbitration with them. And so I've had a lot of running, right, with them, right? So that is just so getting that balance between what constitutes advertising law and what constitutes using IT to solve legal problems and communicating the solution to whatever audience you need to communicate it is the tricky balance that the MBA is trying to resolve, or probably haven't come across to resolve at this time. Yeah, my little thought though.
So, so if I may chip in as regards to what George has said, I mean, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, great. So,
Yes, sir, we can hear.
yeah, those are quite insightful thoughts. I was actually surprised at as a second contribution as regards the NBA, the NBA, reaching out to people. I think advertising, legal services related, products. So I think that's quite surprising. Probably it might be on the propriety of offering legal services with that particular product. I think that should be the issue, and not the issue of you advertising. Not the issue of advertising as it's as it relates to legal practitioners, especially in Nigeria, not advertising their legal services. Of course, we all know that lawyers are actually prohibited from advertising, and from, of course, soliciting as well. So, but in terms of having legal services related, I mean, I believe there's also a kind of restriction. Of course, there's always been an international issue regarding legal service providers that are not really law firms initially. I mean, that's a legal issue that's probably getting resolved now. But so we might have that issue now, but I believe it's good. We're still going to have a kind of steady. It's still going to be addressed, hopefully. I mean, of course, when we see people that can really, and it actually also depends that what kind of products are you offering? Is it kind of providing legal services, or is it aiding legal service, provision, or it's creating a kind of access to justice. So, but if you're creating a product that is providing legal services or legal service, what's the services that the lawyer is supposed to be providing? Of course, ordinarily we have in the legal markets or in the legal industry, we already have laws in terms of that. It's actually a crime for a non-lawyer to practice law. So I want to believe that something like that might also relate to an application that provides legal services. So they need to not that.
So let me just quickly add here without wasting time, Ridwan. So this is even a situation where, in fact, even an implementation with a law firm and a bank, right? I mean, I've had 2 implementation with 2 legal firms, law firms, and quite known law firms, quite notable law firms, right? That decide to also extend their reach, right? Bringing IT to what they're doing, right, and create a way to extend some of their services because they can't scale, right, with people reaching out to them directly. They need to find a way of creating shared platforms, right, for people to access some of the services that they have, especially for pushing small businesses, for promoting small business, right? Now, this is a situation whereby you're not even advertising the business. You're just saying, if you want to pay for this thing, right, you can pay for this thing via a bank, right? So the bank is just communicating the fact that you can pay, right, to be able to do this on this platform that this legal firm has. So it's not even communicating the actual service, but the fact that you can pay to be able to use this platform, right, from this firm. And the MBA has a major issue with that because they believe that communicating that in one way or the other from their explanation, right, somewhat somehow akin to advertising law. Now, whether that makes sense or not is a completely different conversation, right? But that is that tricky balance that needs to be sorted within the MBA itself in how much you can allow lawyers, right, to promote or to be able to discuss legal related things with IT publicly without accusing them of quote unquote soliciting, right?
Yeah.
Or selling legal services. But like I said, conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's quite understandable actually. And I believe I understand your point as regards. Anyways, I would say I ordinarily wouldn't have expected that from NBA, such clampdown, or as regards kind of because I think you can equate it to you kind of what's it called, building on your services, like developing your services or improving your services with the aid of digital tools. But I believe ordinarily it's when it comes to advertising or soliciting, I believe it's I know it comes down to NBA saying that this is what's this is what is what this probably this can be interpreted to be advertising. But what I would have, if it was, I don't want to say if it was me, I believe that decision can still be kind of taken further, for the courts to really decide. So, it would have been interesting if NBA is saying that, such activities, equates or, kind of equates to advertising, and then you take that, to courts to kind of, to interpret if it's really advertising or not. So, that would have actually been an interesting developments in the in legal space in Nigeria. But then I haven't really heard of that, so it's really surprising to me. But something I know that can also be very innovative, and I don't think that should be, that should be said to be advertising, is when you are kind of launching a product that says that you are providing. Sorry, I'm just stretching this a bit. That you have a tool or a platform where you kind of onboard clients to kind of make it convenient for you to interact with your clients, so to say. But anyways, it's something that I'm going to see how how that space is really kind of growing or developing. But then, as regards to your initial points regarding if smart contracts should be regulated or not, I will kind of take another. I want to take a different opinion as well. Even though you have valid points, and I would rather say I'm taking a kind of balanced. I'm kind of taking a balanced approach to it, in the sense that there are many reasons that we can say that smart contracts should be regulated. And when we are saying regulated, I'm not saying fully regulated as well. I'm saying maybe a light touch of regulation, because that is really important when you're talking about contract between two persons. And as I said, there are different reasons. I might not be able to touch upon everything, but just for the mentees to kind of hold on to that as well. I mean, it could be as a result of consumer protection, when you know that there could be, I mean, if you have two parties, there tends to be a malevolent party that is trying to, of course, this is because what the major characteristics of smart contracts is the self-execution, right? So it's not really, so you have really coded all the terms and conditions into the smart contract. So, but we are not really talking about the contents of these smart contracts. We're only talking about the self-execution. So we really need to look at who is going to be reviewing the terms that we have in that the parties have kind of agreed to. So we really need to kind of decide that are those parties just coming together and coming on a particular platform and saying that, okay, this is what we agreed to, even if there is a form of fraud, or a form of maybe someone having more should we say more power or authority than the other person. There could be different issues. So what I'm saying, as I said from the beginning, is that taking a balanced approach, where some of these things can still be. You can, not that it's going to be it's not going to be a strict approach. What we could have is that, okay, these are, before you can deploy a smart contract to blockchain, you should have this set of people, or these are the kind of people that can really create a blockchain platform to ensure that the terms that the parties are entering into are not are kind of like, even to the extent of saying that those terms are legal. Because what if two parties are contracting to something illegal, and we know that an illegal contract is not enforced, it's kind of void. So that's the first one. And another thing is, when we're talking about, so I have sort of talked about that a bit, illicit activities or fraudulent activities, while using smart contracts. Or we can also talk about, I mean, issues surrounding, and we know that it's a self-execution, just as you said, that you can, unless you want to override probably before the smart contracts, executes autonomously. So we can also talk about the issue of security vulnerabilities that are particular to the to the blockchain environment. Or we're talking about how those issues are going to, because you could have external factors affecting the smart contract itself, probably bugs, or probably even hackers hacking into the smart contract, of course, because we can't really say that it is. Of course, we know that it is, what's it called again? I mean, we have one of the characteristics of blockchain. I want to remember this, which it's as regards. Anyways. But I'm really talking, okay, I think I'm really talking about what the point I'm trying to make is as regards you having tamper resistance. Yeah, that's the particular term I wanted to remember. So tamper resistance, in the sense that you can't really change things. But then how about, because ordinarily we have, and that's one thing that we also need to implement, need to understand as well. You can really, through oracles, they call them oracles, you can kind of integrate external environments into the smart contracts. So how about if you are having issues from the external environment and not from the smart contract itself? So there are lots of issues that actually come up, and of course, some of this can be addressed or resolved through dispute resolution, as you've said, but not all of them can be, or not. It won't because we'll have lots of issues in the courts then if we're leaving everything to the court system, which is the other end of the whole thing. So what my approach or my suggestion is going to be a bit of a balanced approach where we have that free reign to innovate, and then we have a light touch of regulation in terms of these things that are critical to the execution of these smart contracts. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan. And thank you to Mr. George for bringing up points to help us answer or address the question. So the last question here is, recently, the CEO of Telegram platform was arrested in France as it relates to blockchain and cryptocurrency ecosystem. Is there any rule he contravened, and what could have been done to prevent that? So I'll be throwing the question to Mr. Ridwan. If you had the question about the CEO of Telegram who was arrested in France as it relates to blockchain and crypto ecosystem, is there any rule he contravened, and what could he have done to prevent that?
Okay. This is a big issue, and I won't want to delve into this. I will rather encourage the mentees to browse this up, and probably we can. I know we kind of discussed something that's a kind of assignment that we're supposed to discuss in this class. I mean, as regards transparency in the blockchain and privacy space, I didn't see anyone mention that. But what I would want you to do is also look this up, and probably come up with your own thoughts regarding the issue. Because what I know, of course, there are a lot of allegations that the French authorities, bringing against him. So I mean, there's a lot of them. So it goes beyond, privacy, or even one of the issue I just want to kind of mention briefly, and I know you should be kind of interested in, is that the fact that cryptography, the use of encryption could actually be, or the use of cryptography can actually be very restricted in some jurisdictions. That's, I mean, most people might not know that initially. I think I got to know when I was delving into the privacy space, but especially privacy technologies, and when I was learning about the use of encryption or cryptography in technologies or in products. So it can actually be, and I think that's one of the allegations against him, that he was making use of cryptography that has not been approved or something like that. So there are other issues in terms of maybe trafficking, child trafficking, child pornography and the likes. So there's a lot of allegations against him, and of course we can't. I mean, we have different opinions, different schools regarding, if he's guilty or not. But of course, most people say he's not guilty. And what's the most interesting?
Let's remember these our people.
What did you say, Judge?
No, I said let's remember these our people because of time.
The time, yes. So so what we can just look at as well is if maybe if the crime was committed through the platform, and if he's actually responsible for activities that were just perpetrated on the Telegram platform. So that's it. So George, if you have any comments.
No, I'm good. I'm good. All
right. All right. So thank you to Mr. George and Mr. Ridwan for helping us run through those questions. Just before we go, right, I want to kindly ask that for those who have some form of lighting in their background, please, if you can turn on your video for us to just take a quick screenshot, and we'll be using that to call it a night on behalf of this class. So please, can we have, for posterity's sake, can we have some videos turned on so that we can just take a quick screenshot?
Yeah, give me a sec. Let me see what I can do.
All
Just
right,
a sec.
thank you.
See, I want to change.
Can we have more Metsies? If that's possible from their end, please, can you turn on your videos so that we can take a quick screenshot? Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ridwan.
There hasn't been light, so it just came up. So I said I should try something. Yeah.
All right,
I hope
thank
this
you,
is
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it's fine. So, okay, one more. All right, thank you so much to Jessica and Mr. Ridwan, and thank you to Mr. George for.
Please go on.
Sorry, I was speaking. I didn't know I was muted. So thank you very much, Manuela. Thank you, Jessica. All right, so we've come to the end of today's session. We look forward to having you all in the next class. Please do also pay attention to your presentation and how best to improve on it. So with that, thank you also to Mr. George and Mr. Ridwan for your time in this class. It has been wonderful hearing and learning from you both. And with this, we come to the end of today's session. See you next week, Friday, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night, everyone.